I want to thank everyone for being here to hear my story today. You know, in chapter 5 of Matthew's gospel, we see that the miracles and the healings of Jesus, they had caused, large crowds of people to follow him. So Jesus, he then climbed up onto a mountainside where he sat down and he began to teach his disciples a series of spiritual truths about things like faith and prayer and love and how we should treat others. And after the crowds of people heard these lessons from Jesus, they were astonished. His teachings were different from the ones that they would hear from the scribes and from those other teachers of Judaism. Jesus' words had an obvious authority and conviction behind them. So when Jesus finally came down from the mountain, he continued to travel to the different areas, preaching the gospel and healing those who were sick. Eventually, Jesus made his way to a city on the lake of Galilee called Capernaum. And as soon as he entered the city, a centurion, that's the commander of a large group of soldiers in the Roman army, maybe 80 to 100 soldiers, he approached Jesus and he pleaded with him. He said, "Lord, one of my servants is very sick. He's unable to move. He's suffering greatly." Jesus listened intently to the man and he told him, I will come and I will see your servant personally and I will heal him." But the centurion soldier, he humbled himself and he said back to Jesus, "Lord, I am not worthy for you to come to my house. I know that you can simply say the word right here and my servant will be healed. I know that you have an authority that must be recognized. Just as I am a man who has authority over soldiers, and when I command them to go, they go, and when I tell them to come, they come, and when I command them to do something, they do it." Jesus was surprised to hear this response from the centurion. He said to him, "I have not seen anyone with this level of faith in all of the land of Israel." Jesus then went on to explain to the man that at the banquet feast in heaven, people from all over the world, from the east to the west, those who would have faith in Jesus, like that of this centurion, they would sit at the table with the patriarchs like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. But even God's own chosen people of Israel, they would not have a place at this table unless they have a similar kind of faith as this man, this centurion. In fact, they will be cast out from heaven and they will enter into a place where there is only weeping and sorrow and despair, a place that Jesus described would have the gnashing of teeth. Jesus then says to the centurion, "You can go back home now. For what you have asked and believed in, I have done for you." And at that very moment, the man's servant was instantly healed. What this story tells us is that heaven and eternal life with God is not something that can be achieved by good works or following a certain list of rules. It's not even something that one can receive by being a specific nationality or belonging to a certain ethnic group. The story of the centurion tells us that the critical element that will reconcile a person to God and will allow them to be at that great banquet feast in heaven is faith in Jesus Christ and faith in Him alone. Even though the centurion was a Gentile, and even though he'd probably spent most of his life worshiping pagan gods, he recognized that Jesus had an unparalleled authority, and he put his faith in Jesus, trusting that he could heal his sick servant just by saying the word. If only the people of Israel had recognized that same power in Jesus. The question that this story teaches us to ask is, do I have the same type of faith in Jesus that the centurion had? Because if we do, then we can know that one day we too will be with Jesus at that great feast with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob as well. Thank you for listening to my story today.